And welcome back to my knife reviews. So today I have something really nice and really new knife from It's called YAKULA, highly anticipated kitchen knife, let's call it this way. Um, and and I got two of those. I'll show you what they are, how they look, a little bit more details on those, and then we'll see how it fits into the kitchen, into maybe my style of cooking, and maybe based on that, you'll see would it fit into your kitchen, do you want to buy it or not. So it will be pretty long review. Stay with me and you'll get your questions answered. So first of all, very new knife. I got two. This one is with the red inserts into the carbon fiber handle. You'll see that. I have one more. That's how it comes in a sleeve. Then as a box, knife type or a name. Before I open the box, funny thing about the name, where the name YAKULA comes from. I'll tell you just my guess. So if you just remove first Y letter, it will be Akula, which in Russian means shark. Does it look like a shark fin? Yeah, it's a little bit pointy and kind of look a little bit aggressive as a shark, but maybe that's how someone came up with this funny name for the knife. It's usually box, and the knife is there just with the tip protector. This one is blue, shredded carbon handle, also quite nice. Red one, maybe it looks a little bit more interesting, I'd say, but both of them pretty nice. Fit and finish, very good, no objections here. And again, let's not talk about the obvious. Of course, it's a high quality knife from this maker, which you know, and there's nothing to talk about. Let me put this one away. By the way, that's generic insert about folding knives, so there's nothing special here about this specific kitchen knife. All right, I'll put this aside and let's talk about the knife. So let's go around the knife, see all of those little details, how it's built, and what's good, what's not good about it. So first of all, it's, as you see, it's not a full tank construction. The blade gets into this titanium bolster. There's a little bit of like a slot, a little bit of cut out in the titanium bolster. Then the blade gets into that cut out. Fit and finish is very good. There's no gaps, no holes. You can see this groove on both sides. Then it's of course rounded, and then the handle and the bolster is tapered towards the blade with a flat grind, and it's really nice and light. Relatively long handle, I would say. Approximately like a half of the blade length is a handle, half is half of a knife length is a handle, and half is a blade. Blade itself is a flat grind, not completely like full flat grind as on some kitchen knives, but it is a flat grind, and it goes pretty much from the spine to the very, very thin edge. The overall dimensions, you know those, but those ones, probably let's review. 2.5 millimeters on the spine, and as you see, the spine is not tapered until about here, and then the rounded spine stays all the way until here, and then there's one more extra kind of like a grind, flat grind towards the tip, which is flat, not rounded, and it makes a very, very sharp tip. It is really sharp. I poked myself already several times with this knife. And speaking about the grind, it's really, really thin. So let's measure that real quick, and I think it is 0.2, no, it's not 0.1, I think it's 0.2 millimeters for the behind the edge. and it cuts pretty well. But speaking about the spine, 2.5 millimeters on the spine, it's something on the thicker side for the kitchen knives. Ideally, I'd say I'd want it a little bit thinner. Blade itself, with this thickness, with a thin grind, is quite stable, so I pretty much cannot bend it. It's very strong, and of course, yeah, it's made out of S35VN, and it hardened it over 60 HRC. I presume it's over 60 HRC, so it's pretty strong blade even for the small knife. So that's the blade. That's the handle. Most likely there's a tang. It's not a full tang. It goes hopefully up till the middle of the handle, and there's a very nice mosaic pin. It's small, very small details in those mosaic pin, and it looks pretty good. And then of course at the end of the handle there's no bolster, nothing. It's just a rounded oval shape of the handle. So overall you feel how the knife is positioned in your hand. If you want to control the knife with with the pinkies, you can do it. It's rounded, so you know how you hold it. And of course you actually hold it as a kitchen knife, as a small paring knife. I think it goes into that category. You better hold it like this, right? When you do something, let's say you're cleaning a vegetables or something else, trimming something, slicing something, you hold it like this, and here comes, I'd say, problems, kind of like a problems. Let me quickly compare the size of this knife before I talk about my negative impressions about this knife, so you kind of understand where I'm going to, and then we'll quickly do another set of comparisons just for fun for this knife, and wrap up the review. All right, so first of all, where this design comes from, it's typical, I should say, design for kitchen knives, either big or small. So let's say with the aesthetics of a handle like this and a bolster, of course it comes from more or less Japanese styles of the knives. So you see knives like this from different makers, wooden handle, some kind of bolster, and then inserted blade with the heel for this, for example, for this utility knife, which is made in Japan. Similar to that, of course, you can get a paring knives of a similar design. Really, this is a pretty bad knife, I should say, but it does the job as a paring knife. And you see the design is about the same, just no bolster, cheap plastic handle, and molded blade into this handle. So this is where kind of this knife fits. It fits in between utility knife from a kitchen and the paring knife. So it's like a larger paring knife category with those dimensions. So for example, those are my other paring knives, like this, or like this, or like this. I just took a bunch from a kitchen, I have more, but you see that this one, being about the same size, still a little bit larger, and the blade is a little bit longer than paring knives, but at the same time blade is a little bit smaller than your typical utility knives. So let's say those ones are utility knives, Japanese and IKEA. This one is not there, although it kind of the same shape. It's the same shape as a small chef's knife, right? But it's not there. It's not big enough to be a utility knife. All right, but some people say, can it be a steak knife? Absolutely, it can be a steak knife. Here we go. Steak knives. Those are my steak knives. Again, different ones. So you see, in terms of a blade length, some steak knives are even bigger. This one's a little bit bigger. This one's about the same size. This one's even a little bit longer. So this knife technically can be a steak knife, although I don't recommend this knife as a steak knife because of the blade. It's a really nice thin blade, and as soon as you start cutting something on a plate, on ceramic plate, you'll ruin the blade. It will go dull. Doesn't matter what kind of steel it is. Doesn't matter that's really hardened. You will ruin the blade. You'll see the reflections super fast after the first usage. Like maybe this one. No, this one's not bad. So speaking about the steak knives, I would recommend something like this to be your steak knife, or maybe even like this if you want to go cheap. All right. Anyway, couple more comparisons. Can it be utility knife? I mean, out of kitchen. Can it be your everyday carry knife? Can it be your hunting knife? Maybe. Here we go. That's one of my hunting knives, and as you see, the blade length, from the blade length point of view, this one's even bigger. It's a little bit longer blade. It doesn't have a belly. It has a nice tip, nicer tip. So yeah, maybe you can use it somewhere in the field to do very nice cutting of with this tip. Yep, you potentially can do it, but of course it's not as strong as hunting knife should be. Just comparison with the paramilitary tool, which we all know, and kind of for the purpose, and maybe another utility or kind of like everyday carry fixed blade knife. As you see, this knife is even bigger than this one, but it's a little bit more fragile, and of course a different construction. This one is stronger just because of the material here. It's not the bolster, it's just the way the knife is constructed. This one will be way more stronger knife for any type of field work. So here we go, back to the kitchen. And I said I don't want to say that I recommend it, yeah, but because it did not fit my style of cooking quite well. Don't get me wrong, it's a great knife. I like it a lot, but in my style of cooking, it's a little bit too big to do the job as a paring knife. That's the way I typically do it. As let's say, I'll take the cheapest one for comparison. I take the paring knife, I hold it like this, I do something, like I clean the vegetables or trim something. I would use a tip. Here, I can use the tip because it's smaller, better to get into, let's say, pepper and cut out bottom of this. With this one, it will be a little bit further out, so it would be not that convenient, and I already did it. I already tried it. Then you start cleaning something, you work towards the cutting edge. Yep, you can do it pretty much with any knife, and this one would do it really well. It's really sharp. But the way you hold it, for example, most of those paring knives which you see, they have a better grip area here. So the only way you will cut yourself is if you lose it, the knife. It will be maybe too slippery, and you'll try to grab it like this, you may cut yourself. This one is a little bit slippery, of course, with the carbon fiber. Not too bad. But when you hold it here, I'm thinking, did I cut myself already during the review with this tip or with the heel of the blade? Your fingers and my fingers are right here near the heel. And this heel of a blade is really sharp, and it's really thin, and it's right here. As you see, it may cut me very easy. So that's why I didn't like it after I started using it. And again, it's also a little bit small to be a utility knife. So that's a pretty good utility knife, which is not too big, not too small. It does have enough space here behind the blade to kind of, for my finger not to touch the heel of the blade. And blade wise, it's good. This one's good too, but behind the heel of the blade, it does not let me use it on the cutting board. All right, so that's what I didn't like. So let's get to a final conclusion here, I guess. That would be the best. So don't get me wrong, I like the knife. It's really, really good. It's really well constructed. It's super light. It's super good quality of materials and everything. For the knife, for any kind of knife, it's really over. I don't even know how to say it. It's way better than most of the knives which I have in the kitchen. I have some good chef's knives. That's where I invest, and I wanted to have a good pairing or utility knife. That's what I wanted from this knife. For the price I paid, I just got a very cool quality, I don't know, random use knife, something like that. So don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna return it. I have two. I'll keep one. I'll probably use another one as a gift one day to somebody. It's a good knife, and of course it will be liked by the person who will receive it as a gift anyway. But for me, I'm a little bit disappointed. What I really want, what I wish we knives would do, is would make this knife of a size of this knife. So if that would happen, I'm in. It's not a cheap knife, so this one would cost probably 10 times more than this one. I'm okay with the price. It's high, of course, but I'm okay. But I would want this knife to be a size of this knife. I want it to be a little bit wider. I want it to be a little bit longer. Maybe of the same shape, maybe not. And maybe I'd want it to be a little bit thinner. But even with this thickness, 2.5, if it will be a little bit wider, then the angle would be okay, I guess. So as long as it's thin behind the edge, I'll be okay. So that's my review. If we knives will see it, if the we knives will listen to me, I'll be happy. I'll buy a knife like this in this form for this price for sure. But so far I'm not very happy. Again, it's a very good knife, but I didn't personally fit my intended usage for this. A little bit too long and not convenient to be a pairing knife for work in the air with some products. A little bit small to cut on the board. I mean, with the tip, of course, you can cut on the board, but not with this portion of a blade. And it's not a utility knife. So thank you for watching. I hope you had some of your questions answered about this knife. And wait for more reviews on both kitchen and everyday carry knives. Bye.